Welcome to this deep dive. Today, our mission is to really unpack this massive, unseen tectonic shift that's currently happening in the artificial intelligence industry.
Yeah, it's a shift that is honestly flying completely under the radar for most people.
Exactly. Because, while you and pretty much everyone else out there are heavily focused on the newest chatbots or generating funny images, the real war happening behind closed doors is completely different.
Right. It's all about teaching AI to write its own software code.
Yeah, and this race, it's causing billionaires to come out of retirement. It's triggering these literal internal corporate civil wars at major tech giants.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's even pushing government intelligence agencies to defy their own blacklists. So to understand this, we're pulling from this really fascinating analysis by tech commentator Wes Roth. He's been looking closely at leaked memos, betting markets, and basically all these insider whispers across the tech world.
And honestly, it is the defining story of the tech sector right now. And I think our goal today isn't just to, list off a bunch of new product updates.
Right, because those are just the symptoms.
Exactly. They're just symptoms of a much larger phenomenon. We're really going to synthesize why coding, specifically an AI's ability to engineer its own software, why that's the ultimate domino.
The one piece that triggers the next era of technological evolution for you, me, the entire global economy.
Yep. Once that domino tips, everything changes.
So to give you a mental picture of what we're actually talking about here, usually when we look at the tech industry, we see things in terms of consumer products. It's kind of like walking past a building under construction.
Right, you see the scaffolding go up?
Yeah, you see the scaffolding, you watch the cranes moving all the heavy steel beams around, and eventually there's a shiny new skyscraper for everyone to use. It's very easy to understand. But what we're talking about today, it's like walking past that exact same construction site and suddenly realizing that the cranes are building themselves.
Wow. Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
And not only that, but they're actively designing a completely new theoretical type of crane that can build, twice as fast.
Which just completely changes the paradigm. It's no longer just a construction site at that point. It becomes this automated evolution. The tools are literally upgrading the tools.
Okay, so let's unpack this, because to understand the sheer panic happening right now across the industry, we really have to start with the catalyst.
The Anthropic effect.
Exactly. Right now, that catalyst is a company called Anthropic. And according to the source material we're looking at, Anthropic is currently operating on what Wes Roth refers to as the Steve Martin principle.
Which is be so good they can't ignore you.
That's the one. And Anthropic's coding models are apparently so good, it's causing literal documented friction inside the United States government.
Which is just wild to think about.
It is. So here's the situation laid out in the analysis. The Pentagon looked at Anthropic and officially labeled them a supply chain risk.
Right, so basically a blacklist.
Yeah, they got slapped with a blacklist, meaning defense agencies are not supposed to use their products. But over at the NSA, the world's premier signals intelligence agency, they are reportedly using Anthropic's new Mythos model anyway.
What's really fascinating here is just the sheer tension between bureaucratic policy and, practical necessity. The Pentagon draws a line in the sand regarding supply chain security, which is their job, right?
Right. They have strict protocols.
Exactly. But the NSA's job is to stay ahead of global cyber threats. So if the NSA is looking at a tool that is supposedly banned by their own defense apparatus, but they're actively choosing to use it anyway, it tells you something profound about the capabilities of that specific tool.
That it's just too good to ignore.
Yeah, the cybersecurity applications of a highly advanced coding model are just, frankly, too crucial for them to pass up.
But wait, isn't that incredibly reckless? The Pentagon blacklisted them as a supply chain risk for a reason. Isn't the NSA risking a massive national security breach just to save their engineers some time on writing code?
Well, it sounds reckless until you really weigh the alternative. In the realm of cyber warfare, the landscape shifts by the minute.
Sure.
If an adversary is using an advanced AI to write malicious code, find zero-day exploits, or, automate attacks, you cannot defend against that with human engineers just typing out defense protocols at normal speed.
Oh, wow. I see.
Now, the NSA likely calculated that the risk of falling behind in coding velocity is just a far greater existential threat than the bureaucratic supply chain risk of using Anthropic's model. They need the absolute best tool available just to keep pace.
So it's like a controversial tool that's officially banned by the corporate boss, but The security team down in the basement is secretly using it anyway because it's literally the only thing that actually keeps the vault locked.
That's a perfect analogy.
But here's where the story gets a little crazy, because
Oh.
if you go online right now and read the commentary, there's a really loud chorus of skeptics.
Always.
Yeah, they're claiming that this whole mythos model is just a PR stunt cooked up by Anthropic CEO Dario Amodei. They think it's just smoke and mirrors to build hype and secure more funding.
Ah, the classic tech industry vaporware accusation.
Mm.
I mean, it happens with almost every major leap in technology.
And usually I'd entertain that skepticism. But if mythos is just a fake PR stunt, as the critics say, how did it manage to dupe the top leaders in global finance and intelligence?
Right, because they are not easily fooled.
No. The sources show that this supposedly fake model was presented in private briefings to Jamie Dimon, the CEO of JP Morgan. It was presented to Jerome Powell, the chair of the Federal Reserve.
Yep.
And this major investor, Scott Bessent, actually sat down and discussed the specific granular cyber threats posed by Mythos with major U.S. banks.
I mean, if we connect this to the bigger picture, you really have to look at the caliber of people involved in those meetings.
Yeah.
Jamie Dimon, Jerome Powell, these are not individuals who are easily swayed by, like, a flashy PowerPoint presentation or some pre-recorded demo.
Right, they have armies of analysts for that.
Exactly. They have entire teams of risk analysts and technologists whose sole job is to puncture hype and find vulnerabilities. So if we follow the logical thread here, either a relatively small AI startup pulled off the greatest technological con in modern financial history.
By fooling the Fed, the NSA, and Wall Street all at once?
Right. Or the model is very real, and it represents a staggering leap in capabilities. It illustrates a hard truth about where we are right now.
Which is?
These AI coding models have become so extraordinarily powerful that they are forcing massive legacy institutions to completely rewrite their own rules of engagement.
And that dynamic, the fact that a nimble startup like Anthropic is creating software so advanced it's forcing the NSA to bend the rules, is exactly why the biggest tech giant in the world is currently having an existential crisis.
Ooh, Google.
Yes, let's look at Google, because it's not just the government feeling what's being called the Anthropic effect. Google is reportedly in a full-blown code red. They've realized they are losing the AI coding race to Anthropic, and the reaction internally sounds like absolute chaos.
It's a fascinating case study in corporate panic.
Mm-hmm.
And you rarely see it play out this publicly.
You really don't, because they've literally brought Sergey Brin, one of the original co-founders of Google, who stepped away years ago,
Yes.
brought him back into the building.
Yay.
He is leading a new specialized strike team alongside the CTO of DeepMind, Corey Cavallulu. And their sole top-level strategic priority is improving Google's coding models to catch up to Anthropic.
And the drama leaking out of Google about this mandate is just incredible.
Oh, it's wild.
This is where we get into the internal adoption curve, right? The friction between what management wants and what the engineers are actually doing.
Yes, and that internal tension is bleeding out into the open. So an industry commentator named Steve Y recently went viral for claiming he had a conversation with a 20-year Google tech director.
Okay.
And the takeaway from that conversation was that Google's internal adoption of AI by its own engineers is basically on par with John Deere.
The tractor company.
Yeah.
Which, we should clarify for the listener, is actually meant as a bit of an insult by the commentator.
Yeah.
But it's fundamentally flawed.
Oh, really?
Yeah, John Deere is secretly a massive adopter of cutting-edge AI. They use computer vision and machine learning for highly advanced agricultural automation, like precision pesticide spraying and self-driving combines.
Oh, wow. Okay, so John Deere is actually highly aggressive with AI and their physical machinery.
Exactly.
But still, within the bubble of Silicon Valley, comparing the software company that essentially invented modern internet search to a tractor manufacturer ruffled some serious feathers. Serdemis Savas, the leader of Google DeepMind, angrily fired back online, calling the claim absolute nonsense and pure clickbait.
But you know, where there's smoke, there's usually fire. And the subsequent reports about the internal culture at Google are very revealing about why Savas might be so defensive.
Because other sources came forward and described a very specific two-tiered system operating inside Google right now.
Right.
You have the elite engineers over at DeepMind, and they are reportedly using Anthropic's Claude model as a daily critical tool. Not Google's own model, but their chief rival's model.
Ouch.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the rest of the broader Google engineering workforce mostly aren't using these tools at all. So management looks at this divide and says, we need to equalize access across the company.
And their brilliantly proposed solution was to remove Claude from the DeepMind engineers.
Yes. Which is just, I mean, the logic there is staggering if you think about it from a management perspective.
It really is. Instead of figuring out how to raise everyone else's capabilities to match the top tier, they considered actively handicapping their top performers just to achieve equality across the board.
It's like taking a power drill away from a master carpenter and handing them a manual screwdriver just so they match the rest of the crew. And naturally, the DeepMind engineers basically revolted. They threatened to quit if Claude was taken away from them. So the response to this whole mess was Sergey Brin writing a company memo stating that engineers working on Google's Gemini project must be forced, that was the exact word used, forced, to use internal agents for complex multi-step tasks.
Wow.
They're actually mandating AI usage in their performance metrics. But wait, I have to challenge the core premise of this entire situation.
Yeah.
Anthropic has something like 5,000 employees. Google has nearly 200,000 employees.
Yeah.
Google has near infinite research budgets. They have their own custom-built TPU chips, essentially, the physical silicon brains required to train these massive AI models, which gives them a massive hardware advantage. How on earth is the giant losing to the startup?
Well, it's the classic innovator's dilemma, but playing out at light speed. What's fascinating here is that raw resources, money, compute power, headcount, they don't always translate to cutting-edge progress if the organizational structure is too rigid.
Bureaucracy.
Right. Google has massive infrastructure, yes. They have the TPUs, the data centers, the sheer scale. But Anthropic is demonstrating that intense focus and structural agility can completely outmaneuver sheer bulk.
That makes sense.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, Google's current strike team isn't just about building a better software product. They're desperately trying to force a cultural shift.
So Sergey Brin returning is like a giant flare sent up to the entire company.
Exactly. It's saying we must leverage our massive infrastructure advantage right now, internally, or we're going to lose the future. They're trying to mandate innovation because organic adoption simply isn't happening fast enough across their broader workforce.
Let's think about what that actually looks like for a developer at Google. Suddenly, your manager is saying that your performance review depends on whether you let an AI write a portion of your code. It's a massive shift in how you do your 9-to-5 job.
Huge shift.
But because of this pressure, Google isn't the only one reacting to the Anthropic effect. The entire industry is scrambling. All the major players are trying to drop new models to reclaim that top spot in the coding hierarchy. Just recently, OpenAI did a shadow drop of a massive GPT front-end coding update.
Right. And a shadow drop meaning they didn't do a massive press tour, they didn't hold a live-streamed event, they just quietly updated the capabilities on the back end for users to discover organically.
And according to the sources, it is absolutely slaughtering Anthropic's Claude Opus 4.7 in front-end web development tasks.
Wow.
And now the rumor mill is completely out of control. There are prediction markets like Polymarket, which, strangely enough, have an almost prophetic track record of predicting OpenAI's internal moves based on insider betting.
Really do.
Yeah, and they're heavily predicting that a highly anticipated model nicknamed Spud, which is likely GPT-5.5, is about to drop. The word is that this new model has a massive focus on UI layout, which is user interface design.
And that is a very specific, very critical bottleneck in software development.
It is. I mean, you can literally just take a pen, draw a rough sketch of a website design on a physical napkin, snap a photo of it, feed it into the model, and it spits out near-perfect code to replicate that exact layout on a screen.
It completely collapses the distance between having a creative idea and executing it technically.
Yeah.
You no longer need to translate a visual concept into hundreds of lines of layout code manually.
Exactly. And while OpenAI is pushing the boundaries of web development, Elon Musk's xAI is apparently accelerating at a crazy pace following a massive internal shakeup.
Oh, definitely.
They're prepping to launch 2 massive products, Grok Build and Grok Computer. Now, wait, we need to draw a hard line here for you, the listener, so we don't get lost in the weeds, because a lot of people hear about these coding updates and think this multi-billion-dollar arms race is really just about building a better autocomplete tool for web developers.
Like a fancy spell check that finishes your sentence.
Right, but that is not what this is. We're talking about agents.
That is the critical distinction. An autocomplete tool just guesses the next word you want to type. It's passive. An agent is proactive.
Like so.
Well, it's software that can be given a complex, long-horizon task. You don't just say, help me write this specific line of code. You say, here's an entirely new feature I want in this software. Go read the entire existing code base, figure out where this new feature fits, write the code, run your own experiments to see if it breaks anything else, debug the errors you find, and then deploy it.
That's insane.
That is what an agent does. It automates the engineering process itself.
And that completely explains why xAI's Grok computer is such a big deal. The source is expected to be a local desktop app for both Mac and Windows.
Yes.
By integrating Grok computer directly into your operating system, the AI isn't just sitting in a web browser tab waiting for a text prompt. It can actually see your screen, access your local files, read your terminal, and theoretically take control of your mouse and keyboard to execute the code it just wrote.
It's moving from being a chatbot to being a literal digital coworker sitting inside your machine.
Exactly. The local desktop integration just removes the barrier between the AI's brain and the computer's operating system.
And allows the agent to act autonomously within your digital environment.
So what does this all mean? Why should you care about the internal drama at Google, or what Elon Musk wants his desktop AI to do, or whether Anthropic is better than OpenAI? Well, we are connecting all these individual corporate strategies to the ultimate end goal of every single one of these companies.
The intelligence explosion.
Yes.
The flywheel effect. This is where the math becomes incredibly unforgiving.
So the sources bring up the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule. You focus on the 20% of effort that yields 80% of your results. In the AI industry, coding is that 20%.
Precisely.
It is the absolute central battleground because if you build an excellent coding model, what does that model do? It helps your human engineers build a better AI model faster.
It's a recursive improvement process. Think of the daily life of a top-tier machine learning researcher at a lab like DeepMind or OpenAI. A lot of their day isn't actually spent having brilliant cinematic eureka moments at a whiteboard. It's spent doing tedious grunt work. They're cleaning data pipelines, writing boilerplate code, debugging simple syntax errors, waiting for tests to run.
Right, the boring stuff.
Exactly. Now, imagine you have an AI agent that takes 50% of that busy work off their plate.
You're raising the floor of what they can accomplish in a single day.
You're multiplying their abilities.
Yeah.
Suddenly, your most brilliant engineers are only focusing on the high-level theoretical breakthroughs. And because they're focused, they achieve the next breakthrough much faster.
Wow. Okay. And then that breakthrough creates an even smarter AI model.
Right. And what happens next? That new, smarter model can now take over 75% of the busy work, which frees up the engineers even more, which leads to an even smarter model, even faster. The cycle feeds itself, spinning faster and faster with every iteration. That is the flywheel.
And that perfectly explains the absolute terror and panic driving Sergey Brin to come out of retirement. It explains why Google is literally mandating agent usage.
Oh, yeah.
The fear is that the first company to really get that flywheel spinning, the first company to hit that upward exponential inflection point where the machine is doing the heavy lifting of improving the machine, is going to permanently run away with the lead.
They'll become an unstoppable juggernaut.
Exactly. And everyone else will just be hopelessly left in the dust because the leader's advantage is automatically multiplying itself.
This raises an important question for you to consider about the stakes of this game. We are watching a literal fight for survival in the future AI landscape. The company that wins the coding war doesn't just get to sell the best enterprise software.
Right.
They get to define the velocity of the future. The reason a relatively small startup like Anthropic can terrify a massive behemoth like Google is because, in a recursive flywheel scenario, a 6-month lead in capability might become mathematically impossible to close.
That's terrifying.
If your competitor's AI is building the next generation of AI twice as fast as your human engineers can, you can frankly never catch up.
It's just wild to think about. We are essentially watching the underlying engine being built right now, and that engine will dictate how fast every other technology in your life evolves over the next few years.
Absolutely everything.
Yeah. If medical AI for discovering new drugs, or transportation AI for self-driving cars, or, financial AI for managing your retirement is going to improve, it will be because these specific coding models built the digital infrastructure for it.
That is the perfect way to frame it. The coding models are not just another product category. They are the foundational infrastructure for absolutely everything else that is to come.
So, to bring it all back together for you, we started by looking at Anthropic's controversial lead in the space, A lead so undeniable that the NSA is pushing past Pentagon blacklists just to use their cybersecurity capabilities.
Right.
We saw how that exact same pressure triggered a massive code red at Google, forcing billionaire founders back into the trenches to aggressively mandate AI use among their own reluctant engineers just to keep pace. And we watched OpenAI and XAI desperately launching their own advanced agents, moving from simple web interfaces to integrated desktop environments to capture the crown. But the real takeaway here is that understanding this specific coding battleground is the master key to understanding all the future AI headlines you're going to read.
Yep.
This isn't just standard tech bro drama over market share. It is the literal race to achieve recursive self-improvement.
And if you look back at the metaphor we started with, the idea of a building constructing itself, the cranes actively designing better, faster cranes, it leaves us with a critical lingering thought.
What's that?
Well, if the ultimate goal of all these tech giants is to trigger a flywheel where AI models are the primary engineers writing the complex code for the next generation of AI models, at what point do human engineers lose the ability to actually understand the systems they've unleashed? I mean, when the machine is the one building the machine who really holds the blueprints.
Wow. A rapidly changing world out there, but we'll be right here to unpack it all for you. Until next time.